So imagine baking the world's most advanced artificial intelligence
Yeah.
right into the core of your multi-billion-dollar platform.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. And your immediate reward for doing that is your profit margins actually go down on purpose.
I mean, that completely flips the traditional narrative we hear, right?
Exactly.
We usually treat AI like this, magical software update. You just plug in a model, fire half your staff, and instantly become this futuristic utopia of efficiency with zero overhead.
Yeah, that is definitely the comforting silver bullet narrative that gets sold on social media all day long.
Constantly.
But when you look at the actual ledger of a massively scaled global tech company, that magic switch looks a lot more like a very complicated, very expensive financial dial.
Oh, for sure.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking you into some truly fascinating source material today. We actually got our hands on excerpts from a recent multi-part executive Q&A session with the leadership of Duolingo.
The language app.
Yeah, the massive language learning platform. And our mission today is to give you an exclusive peek under the hood of how a modern tech giant actually scales in real time.
And honestly, whether you are trying to understand the real-world applications of AI, or, you're obsessing over business strategy, or maybe you're just curious how freemium apps manage to survive, this gives you the exact playbook.
It really does.
We're going to explore the hidden financial costs of AI, the cold realities of engineering productivity, and the surprisingly difficult challenge of trying to market a free product that is actually, well, too good.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the very first thing we see in these transcripts is a direct, deliberate hit to the company's bottom line.
Right.
The chief financial officer notes that their gross margins are intentionally dipping. They're actually guiding down to a 69% gross margin as they exit the year.
Which is wild, because for a software company of this scale, intentionally guiding margins downward usually terrifies investors.
Oh yeah, they panic.
Right. But the CFO lays out the underlying mechanics here. They are actively treating AI as an ingredient in the product infrastructure.
An ingredient.
Yeah, like when you first introduce complex generative features, think dynamic conversational practice or highly personalized error correction, the raw compute power required per user is astronomical.
Right, because every time a user interacts, an API call pings a server,
Yeah.
and that burns fractions of a cent.
Exactly. And at their massive user scale, those fractions quickly add up to millions in server costs.
I mean, think about it like a master chef who decides to start using this incredibly rare, incredibly expensive organic spice in their signature dish.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Thanks. Initially, buying that spice just eats right into your restaurant's profit margins. It costs an absolute fortune. You take a short-term financial hit because it makes the dish undeniably, noticeably better, and you just keep pouring it in, banking on the hope that once you figure out the exact recipe or negotiate a massive bulk discount from the spice merchant later.
The math eventually tips in your favor. And what's fascinating here is how that spice analogy maps perfectly to computing optimization curves.
Oh, so?
Well, over time, engineering teams just get smarter. They stop sending massive, bloated prompts to the LLM. They learn to cache common user responses, the cost of processing power drops, and the per-unit cost of that AI feature inevitably compresses.
Yeah, and we actually see proof of that optimization right in their numbers. The CFO mentioned that their Q1 margins held up surprisingly well compared to the year before.
Because their per-unit AI costs had already come down?
Exactly. They figured out how to use the expensive spice more efficiently. But rather than just pocketing those savings to inflate their quarterly profit, they're doubling down.
Oh, wow.
They're funneling those savings straight back into more AI integration, which is what drives that margin guidance back down to 69%.
So they are deliberately suppressing today's margin to build a defensive moat for tomorrow.
Yes.
But, injecting this much AI into an educational product creates a massive tension between content velocity and content quality.
Right, because generative models can churn out tens of thousands of new language scenarios in seconds. Their content velocity is undeniably up.
Yet the leadership is actively standing on the brakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The CEO explicitly states they are holding back from growing their content library even faster because they are terrified of what he calls slop.
Slop, that's a great word for it.
It is, right. Because if you are trying to teach someone Japanese and the AI generates a sentence that is grammatically correct but culturally bizarre.
You've completely broken the user's trust.
Exactly. And once an educational platform loses trust, the core product is dead.
So how do they stop the slop?
Well, to prevent it, They had to engineer a rigorous multi-layered filtration system. And it goes way beyond just having humans read AI output. They actually use AI to evaluate AI.
Wait, so bots checking bots?
Basically, yeah. The primary model generates the content, but then it passes through an ensemble of secondary, highly specialized LLMs strictly prompted to act as linguistic pedants.
Linguistic pedants, I love that.
Right, just checking for hallucination, cultural appropriateness, and curriculum alignment.
And even if a new exercise survives the pedant bots, human linguists still review a sample, right?
Yes.
And then they deploy algorithmic spot checks. So they quietly push the new content to a tiny, statistically significant fraction of their millions of users.
And they don't just ask the users if they liked it.
Right, they monitor the telemetry, like did the user hesitate for 3 extra seconds before answering?
Or did a disproportionate number of users close the app immediately after seeing that specific sentence?
Yeah, and those micro-engagements actually dictate whether the content survives. Taking this highly structured, defensively pessimistic approach to AI generation is expensive and slow.
Extremely.
But the executives noted that over the last 2 quarters, by enforcing this strict filtration, the measurable quality of their core product has actually increased.
Which is huge. I mean, if you're running a startup right now, or managing any kind of digital team, you're probably wondering how you could possibly afford to throttle your own growth for the sake of that level of quality assurance.
Yeah, because the math only works if the engine building the product is highly efficient, which leads us to wonder, if AI is generating the curriculum, how is it impacting the human engineers coding the app itself?
Well, the CEO's philosophy on engineering velocity is rooted in massive concurrent A/B testing.
Okay.
For an audience familiar with tech, you know the challenge of A/B testing isn't running a single test. It's running hundreds of them simultaneously without the variables contaminating each other.
Right. You can't have the team testing a new notification algorithm accidentally skew the data for the team testing a new, spaced repetition vocabulary feature.
Precisely. So they utilize sophisticated feature flagging and orthogonal testing architectures.
Say that 3 times fast.
Right. Basically, users are hashed into complex, isolated cohorts, and this allows the company to run hundreds of concurrent experiments safely. The CEO claims that with this infrastructure, if they want to move a specific metric, they just aim this massive testing machine at it for a few months, and the metric moves.
That's incredible.
And for the first time in years, they are actually seeing a measurable increase in per capita engineering velocity, meaning each individual developer is shipping more code.
I have to push back on the core premise here, though.
Okay, go for it.
If this app has been heavily utilized for 15 years, and they are constantly running hundreds of concurrent UI and UX tests, isn't there a ceiling to human psychology?
What do you mean?
Well, if I log in on Tuesday and the interface behaves one way and Thursday it behaves differently because I've been hashed into some new testing bucket, at some point, the friction of constant change is going to annoy me into quitting.
Ah, okay. That assumes the tests are highly visible, structural shifts.
They aren't.
No, the reality of mature product optimization is entirely invisible to the user. They are testing back-end latencies, the exact timing sequence of a push notification, or, the specific decay rate in the algorithm that decides when you need to review the Spanish subjunctive tense.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the interface isn't shape-shifting. The engine underneath is just getting infinitesimally smoother.
Okay, that makes sense. And the CEO actually offers a brilliant reality check on this entire process. He specifically calls out the Twitter hype cycle.
Oh yeah, the hype is out of control.
He notes that a year ago, social media would have you believe one solo developer could use an AI coding assistant to write an entire complex application in 5 seconds.
And run 10,000 tests simultaneously.
Exactly.
He bluntly dismisses that as science fiction. I mean, integrating code into a legacy code base, ensuring it doesn't break existing security protocols, and gathering statistically significant data from human users, that takes actual time.
Right.
The AI coding tools are making their engineers faster, but the CEO describes the increase as moderate.
A moderate increase sounds almost disappointing after all the Silicon Valley hype.
It only sounds disappointing until you do the math.
Okay.
In an enterprise with hundreds of developers, a consistent 10% per capita increase in velocity is an economic earthquake. It is the mathematical equivalent of hiring dozens of top-tier, fully onboarded senior engineers for absolutely zero additional payroll. It compounds.
That's true. Now, if their engineering velocity is that high and their per capita output is compounding like that, my instinct would be to flood the zone with performance marketing.
Right.
Like, if the machine is that efficient at turning out a great product, you just pour endless buckets of venture capital into Facebook and Google ads to get everyone on Earth to download it. But they aren't doing that, so there must be a structural bottleneck.
Yeah, during the Q&A, an analyst probes this exact bottleneck. The analyst assumes the lack of massive performance marketing spend means the product is still immature, or maybe it's undergoing too much of that concurrent testing we just talked about.
But a CEO rejects that theory entirely.
Yeah, completely rejects it. The real bottleneck is almost counterintuitive for a tech company. The free tier of their app is simply too good.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Think about this like a promoter trying to sell you VIP backstage passes to a concert.
Okay.
The VIP passes cost $20 a month, but the general admission tickets, the ones they're handing out for free on the sidewalk, they already give you front row seats, an unobstructed view of the stage, and free drinks.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this exposes the ultimate paradox of the freemium business model.
Yeah.
A successful free product is your primary acquisition funnel. It is designed to be frictionless. But if you engineer it too well, it becomes an impenetrable wall to your own monetization.
The VCO even admits it's incredibly easy to acquire a user through a targeted digital ad. The cost to get a download is really low.
Yeah, the user opens the app, starts learning the language, and genuinely enjoys it.
But converting them, getting them to pull out a credit card when the free version is already completely solving their pain point, it basically becomes a mathematical impossibility in certain demographics.
Which dictates a brutal reality for customer acquisition cost versus lifetime value.
Right. CAC versus LTV.
Exactly. If you spend $10 on an ad to acquire a user, but the free tier is so satisfying that the user never hits a frustrating enough paywall to subscribe, their lifetime value remains zero. The performance marketing engine just breaks down.
So the CFO jumps in to clarify how they are navigating this trap. They are rolling out a heavily restructured, multi-tiered marketing investment this year.
Because they realized you cannot simply hack your way to paid subscriptions with an optimized ClickFunnels if the core product already perfectly satisfies the user.
Right. You have to build aspirational brand value. You have to make the user actively want to identify with the premium tier, not just trick them into a free trial.
But if their domestic U.S. user base is trapped in this free tier paradox, making the conversion battle a game of inches, the math of all these massive AI and engineering investments only makes sense if they are finding exponential volume somewhere else.
And they absolutely are. While domestic daily active user growth is slower, which, by the way, they're trying to fix with better teaching algorithms and strategic brand marketing, their international volume is absolutely exploding.
Yeah, Asia is currently their fastest growing region.
But tech platforms often boast about massive user acquisition in developing markets. The quiet secret is usually that those users rarely generate meaningful revenue.
Exactly. Yet the executives highlight a staggering statistic here. China monetizes surprisingly well.
Wait, really?
Yeah. In fact, their Chinese user base monetizes on par with Western European countries like France.
That is a phenomenal economic indicator, and they are achieving it through a strategy that completely abandons the traditional Western tech playbook.
How so?
While they aren't relying on targeted Instagram ads, they are executing massive, highly visible physical brand tie-ins.
Oh, right.
We are talking about dominating partnerships with Luckin Coffee, which is ubiquitous in China, and an upcoming major partnership with McDonald's.
And the CEO points out a fundamental cultural difference making this possible. A traditional Western corporate behemoth, like Starbucks, would never completely change the physical aesthetic of thousands of stores every 2 weeks, just for a promotional tie-in with a software app.
No way, the brand guidelines are way too rigid.
Exactly. But Chinese brands operate with this ferocious, shape-shifting agility. They are hungry for dynamic, hyper-relevant collaborations.
It's almost like building an impenetrable, highly standardized bank vault for your core software, but letting the local branch managers build a neon nightclub on top of it.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks. I mean, the engineering, the AI, the rigorous A/B testing, the vault, that remains completely centralized and secure, but the exterior marketing layer is pure, localized cultural agility.
Now, this raises an important question about causality. Are they growing because they partnered with McDonald's, or did they get the McDonald's partnership because they were already growing?
Right.
The CEO clarifies that it is a reciprocal cycle. You don't secure a nationwide physical rollout with McDonald's unless you are already perceived as a highly desirable, culturally relevant phenomenon.
Which makes sense, because the demand for English learning in China is a massive structural societal force.
Yeah.
It is highly aspirational.
Which creates a total paradigm shift in user acquisition. In the US, companies bleed capital trying to win the digital performance marketing war.
Yeah.
But in China, this company realizes that physical cultural saturation, putting your brand on millions of coffee cups in a highly social environment, builds far more trust and converts users more effectively than any digital ad ever could.
So they don't have to alter their rigorous engineering DNA at all.
No, they just unleash their local marketing teams to operate with the speed of a streetwear brand.
Wow. So what does this all mean? When you pull back and view this entire executive Q&A as a single mosaic, you realize these seemingly disconnected pieces actually form one brilliant, cohesive business strategy.
They really do.
The decision to absorb a 69% gross margin today directly funds the specialized AI evaluation models that prevent content slop.
Right. And that rigorously maintained high-quality content keeps the free tier incredibly robust, which forces the domestic marketing team to abandon lazy performance ads and invent complex, multi-tiered brand strategies.
And that intense pressure cooker environment creates a brand identity so strong that massive physical retailers in Asia are effectively begging to turn their storefronts into interactive billboards for a language app.
It's all connected. And the CFO concludes the session by reinforcing that they're playing a very long game here. The current margin dips, seasonal fluctuations are completely typical for them.
So they aren't worried.
Not at all. Their strategic horizon is fixed on the year 2026 with an operational mandate to consistently maintain around a 20% daily active user growth rate globally.
It really is a masterclass in utilizing the sheer volume of artificial intelligence while strictly maintaining the deliberate, slow discipline of human quality control.
Absolutely.
But, looking at the sheer power of this machine leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to ponder.
Oh.
We started by talking about the hidden costs of AI, but let's project this out a few years.
Yeah.
If AI eventually drives the cost of generating flawless, perfectly personalized educational content down to essentially zero,
Okay.
and if these app-free tiers become so incredibly perfect that nobody ever encounters a point of friction that makes them want to subscribe, how do these digital giants actually survive?
That's a huge question.
Will the tech companies of tomorrow stop relying on user subscriptions entirely? Will they just abandon the freemium model and instead survive purely by tuning their massive, highly engaged user bases into cultural distribution networks for physical brands?
Wow.
It kind of makes you wonder if the ultimate hidden cost of perfect AI is the total extinction of the subscription model itself.